I enjoy coming to work every day knowing that clients are depending on me to guide them through whatever financial needs they have.
Every client we have is different. And so it's really about finding out what's really the most important thing per client.
With financial planning, everything is interconnected. So a comprehensive plan means that you're taking care of income needs now, income needs in the intermediate term, and income needs long term. We'll do an asset cycle portfolio. We'll do a riskalyze test. We'll do a life insurance audit or a life insurance review.
And so when we build a deep relationship with our clients, then we can take a step back, and then we can look at different options to help them specifically get to their goals. One of the things I feel our job is as advisors is to introduce strategies to clients that maybe they did not know that they were out there. But it's our idea, our job to come out and say, have you ever thought about this?
And the planning it's not always about income, but a lot of it is also about the legacy. So the element of family is very important to us, and it's important to our clients.
Hello, my name is Steve Jablonski, and I'm the host of Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. Today, we again have a very good show, and it's going to be on a financial checklist for 2021. And with that said, Jeff?
Well, hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. Good to be here. As we sit here and record this late in 2020, I think we're all anxious to turn the page on the calendar into 2021, and as most people watch this, will already be in 2021. So Happy New Year. What I think is going to be exciting about 2021 is that we really are entering a new year, and there was so much has happened to our country and to so many individuals in 2020. It was just such a difficult year. And I think as we talk about financial planning, we start to get into things that we can control, and I think we all feel better if we know that we have control of certain things, because in the world around us there's so many things that we can't control. So this is a good time to do this as we enter 2021, and we're going to have a new administration down in Washington, and we're entering a new year where hopefully we can get a lot of this pandemic behind us, and it's really an exciting time.
Yep, and it's nice to broadcast from our office, and we do have a couple locations.
Yeah, it's nice to broadcast from our office in beautiful downtown Pottstown. So our local address here is 152 East High Street, which is the corner of High and Hanover. We're up here on the 4th floor, and of course we also have an office. Our main office is down in Norristown at 2570 Boulevard of the Generals. Now, we've been here doing this show. It's hard to believe, but we've been doing this show here for over a year, I believe. It's hard, it's hard to keep track of time because it just flies by. But we've been doing the show here on location for a while, and we kind of like it because it's people get to see where we conduct our business here in Pottstown, and it's really conducive to doing our show here.
And we've had some exciting news, articles and being published, and what can you tell us about that and the exciting?
Yeah, so we've been on a pretty good string of a press campaign, a public relations campaign, and really in the past 3 to 4 months, we've been in several news media. We've been in, and you can see all the activity up on the screen there. But I think some of the things that I was most excited about was the USA Today, which obviously is a national newspaper, and I was quoted in there. And I wrote an article for CNBC. That was exciting. And I did an interview on KYW. So yeah, and all these other things. It's just nice that in a year where really we were somewhat limited in what we could do from a marketing standpoint because of the limitations on with the pandemic, we really could step up our public relations and our media efforts.
And through the years, Jeff, one of the things our firm likes to do is educate people and help people out through articles. We did educational seminars on Social Security. Tell us a little bit about the sounding board.
Yeah, well, after all, our name of our company is Informed Family, so we do like to inform. And I have to give kudos to our former partner and colleague Barry on that one. He's the one that came up with that name. But the sounding board process we're really excited about, because the sounding board process is one where, and we originally offered this to all of our top clients, but now we've kind of expanded it to everybody, including the listeners of our show here, where we offer our services. We'll offer anybody a free consultation because people need help, and especially right now, people need professional financial help. We're finding out a lot of people are retiring early, and that we have found that the finish line has moved as far as retirement goes, just because of you think of certain professions. I think of like the teachers and the frontline healthcare workers. They and others have been in very stressful situations. And a lot of those people have really chosen to retire earlier than they had originally anticipated. So we've had to help a lot of people do that. But anyway, we're using our services as we're a sounding board. So if anybody needs our help, we're here to help them. And of course, we'll put our information up on the screen. But if you want to contact us, you can contact us by phone or by email, and we'll offer a free complimentary consultation to anybody who wants it.
And we look at the checklist. We do have 6 or 7 different items. And when someone works with us as a firm, we cover these. And so I guess these would be for people that are not working with an advisor. They may not be able to do all of them. But let's get into the checklist.
Yeah, they may not be working with an advisor, or maybe their advisor's not covering certain things that certain things that are important, or maybe people are doing it themselves, and maybe this is the time to maybe engage the services of a professional.
And the big one is, and a place to start in a relationship with the client, is their goals. So if we talk about maybe the why, start off with the financial goals for people.
Yeah, so the financial goals are important because that really forms the basis of the plan. And, Steve, you and I have been at this for a long time. I think when we add our years of service together, we're over 50 years. I know I'm at 26, and I think you're at 25. So yeah, it's a long time. But when we sit down with people, that first meeting that we have, that's what we do. It's a get to know you meeting, and as part of that get to know you meeting, we're trying to find out what their goals and their objectives are. Why are you here? Why did you come in to see us? And that really starts to formulate the basis of a financial plan.
And for younger clients that are starting to save, starting with their goals, a good point to start is really knowing your expenses and kind of grounds you determine how much you can actually save.
Yeah, so the budget is really a good way to control expenses, and It's really a basic thing, a fundamental thing, and I really wish that some of these basics were taught in our schools. But we get people come out into the adult world and they really don't know the fundamentals of budgeting and controlling your expenses, and fundamentally it's like you spend less than you make. Right, so if you can do that, then that's forms a basis for saving. So creating a good budget, and sticking to it is just really good discipline to to start a financial plan.
So if we start with the financial plan, we put in the budget, and now it's time to look for tools that you have as an individual or you have from your employer to save.
Yeah, if you're working for the first thing you want to do, if you're working for a company that offers a retirement plan, that's the first place you want to go for a couple reasons. First, they're offering you tax deferred savings, so that makes sense to put money into a tax deferred vehicle. Secondly, it's providing for disciplined, regular investing. It's coming out of your paycheck every pay period. You don't miss it. It just becomes part of the budget. But the thing that I like most about the employer-sponsored plans are that you're investing regularly into the market, or what we call dollar cost averaging. So you're averaging into the market over a period of time, and that's how you build wealth.
And how about if you're self-employed?
If you're self-employed, there's various vehicles that you can use. For example, a SEP, SEP that stands for a Simplified Employee Pension. That's an IRA.
Yep.
So investing in an IRA is a good tax deferred vehicle, and you can put with a SEP plan you could put up to 25% of your earnings into a SEP. So it's really a good way for self-employed individuals to build an account value.
And one of the things we used to do is, if someone was participating in a retirement plan, to really try to save more, to not go from 5 to 10%, but maybe go from 5 to 6. Maybe just bump it up a notch, and most times people won't miss it.
Yeah, I think back to my early days of savings. That's what I used to do. I used to, whatever I would put into my 401k this year, if I'd get a raise, I'd just bump it up by an extra percentage, and that really adds up. You're really you're stacking your investment there, and again, most people aren't going to miss 1% out of their paycheck, and it really isn't 1%, because if you're doing it on a pre-tax basis, you get a little bit of a tax break. So if you're let's say you're in a 25% tax bracket, then the dollar that you put into your 401k is really only costing you 75 cents.
And being that we're fiduciaries, we start with the goals, and then the other thing of importance is really having a discussion around someone's true risk tolerance. So what does that look like?
Well, I think you mentioned the fiduciary. So the fiduciary is really all about acting in your client's best interest. So it's really a role that we're really bound by and we take very seriously, and it's really something that we should always operate under, right? Everybody should. That's in our business. But the fiduciary capacity means that you have to take certain steps to put a plan together that's in your client's best interest. And with respect to risk, you have to know what your client's risk tolerance is. So you go anywhere, let's say you go anywhere from the somewhere on the conservative scale to somewhere on the aggressive scale. So to use an example, you don't want to put somebody who is testing conservatively on the risk scale. You don't want to put them into an aggressive investment, an aggressive stock, for example. Conversely, if you have somebody who is an aggressive investor, you don't want them into many conservative investments. So really, it's all about the balance there, Steve, and making sure that the investment profile matches the risk profile.
And one thing I've noticed this year is that with a lot of our new clients, they were invested more aggressively than their true risk tolerance. And when we had the biggest, sharpest decline in the market in the first quarter and then the quickest rebound, what we found is that a lot of our clients would say, I'm not that risky. It's not as, I don't want that much risk in my portfolio because we dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I think what happens when we do these risk tests, to an extent, it's difficult sometimes for people to really assess their own tolerance for risk because they haven't really experienced it. And I think what you just described is a real life experience. You're looking at the markets dropping the way they did. So if we look back at February and March of 2020, the market, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it dropped pretty significantly.
Yep.
In February and March of 2020. And I think a lot of people started to look at their portfolios and they looked at their own, they assessed their own risk and said, well, maybe I'm not that risky. Maybe I should have a more conservative or maybe even a more moderate approach. And that's our job. We made a lot of adjustments because we had to, and we have a lot of strategies in our portfolios that allow us to do that. That can accommodate that kind of investor.
And a lot of our clients are very near retirement, and when you go back to 2008, they had some time to rebound. And now we're 10 years, 12 years later, and the rebound time.
Yeah, so your time is really compressed. It's really all about, I always say investing is all about time in the market. It's not timing the market. So when you talk about time in the market, and you're right, if you're approaching retirement, you don't have that as many years. So you gave a good example there. So if we go back to 2008, and we're talking to that same person today, right? So that's 12 years ago. And if you look at the market over the 12 years, we've had a nice period of recovery over that 12-year period of time. So you can recover from that. But now, here we are in 2020, 2021, and if you have someone who's now they're not 15 years from retirement. Now they're 2 or 3 years from retirement. And the game has changed. So you can't take the amount of risk in the market that you once did because you don't have the time to recover. So you have to really look at, there's a couple different ways to look at that, and we have tools to do that. We have the Riskalyze tool, which again, for our viewers, if you want more information on that, you can contact our office and we'll walk you through that. We also have the asset cycle portfolio, which helps people pinpoint different strategies according to the timeline and according to the risk. So there's tools that we use to mitigate that.
Yep, and the market's been very fascinating because you look at the period from 1980 to 2000, which was not straight up, and very much a bull, and then we had the lost decade, they say, and then it.
Yeah, the period from 1980 to 2000, we call that your father's stock market, and we always like to say, this is not your father's stock market, and it's not. So your father, and we always say, that's in a metaphorical sense, but your father's stock market was, well, your father, first of all, had a pension and Social Security and really only had to rely on investments for maybe a small part of their income, whereas today's investor is relying on Social Security and maybe not a pension. Pensions have become a thing of the past. So for those people who don't have the pension, they're relying on their investments. So the investments aren't performing the way your father's stock market did, right? So if we look at the 80s and the 90s, we had a period of prosperity. We had a period of, I think the market was up something like 17% per year, something like that. It was a very strong period of time. And then when 2000 came, we've had a lot of bumps in the road. We've had, now we've had 3 significant market declines, recessions, whatever you want to call it. We've had a lot of volatility in the last 20 years. So, as you and I look back at our career, and you and I have had a lot of time to reflect on a lot of this stuff lately because we're coming up on our company's anniversary, and there's a lot of exciting things happening around our office. But as you reflect on your career, you see that you've really managed through 3 major declines in the stock market. So when you think about that, as an investor, that's a real that's a real head scratcher. Like, well, what do I do if the market's going to be this volatile? How am I going to make money?
Yep. In the next topic, when we have a discussion with clients and we talk about what their biggest asset is, a lot of people will say, well, my home or my 401k. But if you think about someone's ability to make a living and earn an income, if someone's 35 years old, they make $100,000 till 65. That's $3 million.
Yeah.
So when we get into the insurance part of it, how should they evaluate? What should they be looking at?
Well, again, I think you come back to the employer piece of that, and the fact that if there's your employer's offering you life insurance or insurance, you should take advantage of that, especially if they're offering it for free, as part of your benefit package. Yep. But I'm also a big proponent of having permanent insurance because in today's day and age, people are changing jobs frequently. So you jump from job to job. That means you lose your insurance, whatever insurance coverage you had. So you come to a point in your life maybe where you're not insurable. So you have health issues. So then what do you do? So I think it's important to have a good insurance portfolio, just like it's good to have a good investment portfolio. So again, we can help you with that. So if that's something that you feel you need some help with, again, don't hesitate to contact our office and use us as part of the sounding board process.
Yep. And also that goes back into the planning about when you get to someone's insurance need. Because everybody doesn't need $1 million. It may be $1.5 million, it may be $500,000, and it all gets back to the plan.
Goes back to the plan, what you're trying to cover, what you're trying to protect, who you're trying to protect. Yeah. So there's all kinds of things that go into the formula, and we've been doing that's how I kind of got into this business, was in life insurance, and I think you did too, where that's kind of the first thing that we tried to do when we talked to people, was make sure that they had their insurance squared away before we started to talk about other things like investments and building a retirement portfolio. The insurance aspect of it is so important.
And so when we look to maybe someone leaving a legacy, passing assets around estate planning, it can become complicated. And again, this goes back to the individuals or the couple that we're sitting across from. So what should be evaluated around estate planning?
That's a tricky one because a lot of people avoid doing this because they don't want to face. It's like facing your own mortality, because really what you're talking about with estate planning is what's going to happen when I die. Yep. And that's a very difficult concept for a lot of people, is facing their own mortality. So what does that mean? Well, in its most basic sense, it means you need to have a will, right? So the will should say what your wishes are. If you have minor children, if you have special needs children, it's important to have a will. But even if you don't, it's important to have your wishes documented in a will. Because if you don't have a will, then what happens? You die. It's called intestate. You die without a will. So then that means that the state makes up the will for you, right? So here we are in the state of Pennsylvania, so we go by Pennsylvania's laws, and that might not be exactly what you want. So the will's important. The other thing that's important is the power of attorney. What happens if you can't make decisions for yourself? Right? You want somebody making those decisions for you, and you want to have trust in that person. It might be a spouse, it might be one of your children, it might be a close relative, could be any one of a number of people. But that's important, the power of attorney. The other thing that's important is what we call the advanced directive or the living will. There we get into, well, gee, what happens if my health starts to decline and there's certain decisions that need to be made from a healthcare perspective. So that comes into play there. And then of course, in some of the advanced concepts, you have the trusts, and so anyway, the estate planning is really, that's one of the pillars that we go by with our planning.
And when someone's younger, the estate plan is different than when they're older, because when they're younger, they want to make sure their kids are taken care of. And it's older, it's more about the assets.
It evolves.
Getting
Yeah,
to the kids.
The estate planning is one that evolves, and one that we just have to continually look at and update.
Yep. And we do have some exciting news with how many years the company's been around.
So in 2021 we're celebrating our 20-year anniversary, which is exciting. So it's hard to believe we've been around that long, but the exciting part of that is that we're positioning ourselves for hopefully many, many more. I won't say 20 more, but we'll say many, many more. And it's been an exciting ride. We've been here on PCTV for the last 7 years, so a significant part of it. And I should put a nice little bow on this show here today by saying that to watch our show, you can watch it either on the television on PCTV or on our website, which is informedfamily.com, or the PCTV website, which is the PCTVnetwork.com. So with that being said, Steve, I believe our time has come. So we want to wish everybody a happy 2021, and hopefully everybody's on to bigger and better things this year. And with that being said, this is Financially Speaking.